Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fifth session in Apex Benefits Healthcare Reform webinar series, Building Your HCR Strategy. We have a dynamic presentation for you today, brought to you by Vanessa Brown. Vanessa Brown is the Director of Communications and Wellness for Apex Benefits. Her background and expertise with national communication and insurance companies enables Vanessa to bring valuable resources to help employers execute successful health and wellness strategies. Welcome, Vanessa, and thank you for your participation today.
Thank you, Tracy. We appreciate the opportunity to bring this webinar to you. As a team, we're here today to educate employers on the ramifications and implications of healthcare reform, and to also provide you with a step-by-step process to evaluate your needs in building an HCR and compliance strategy that directly aligns with your company's overall business goals, objectives, and strategic vision. Thank you so much for joining us. Tracy and I are always thrilled to bring our expertise to the employer community. Please note our recording of the webinar will be posted on our website end of day Thursday, March 14th. Tracy and I are also available after the session for any one-on-one discussions should you have more personalized questions. Our contact information is available at the end of the webinar. Our previous webinars reviewed our four-pillar approach to planning for healthcare reform. In summary, we looked at understanding the landscape, what the health coverage mandate looks like for employers with 50 or more full-time employees who average 30-plus hours per week must be offering affordable health coverage. Hours worked by part-time employees are taken into account to determine 50 or more FTEs. Employers really need to understand and fully grasp what the penalties look like, $2,000 versus $3,000, and evaluate the state exchange offering and what that looks like for employers, specifically for small businesses and in the individual market. The next piece is analyzing your impact, both the direct and indirect costs financially surrounding the decisions you make to offer or not offer coverage. There is great value to your organization to conduct a comprehensive financial analysis, reviewing case studies and understanding the examples that really help you know how your specific numbers will impact your business. There is a significant impact on your company and your employees. So to clearly outline that impact so all parties within the organization understand and can address those impacts prior to when they happen. The next pillar is aligning with the business strategy. Do you really understand what your healthcare strategy is? Have you taken the time to document that? And does your healthcare strategy align with your business goals? All these were brought in through our previous webinars. So to review the previous webinars, please go to apexhcr.com and select one or all for your review. So next today, what we want to do is help each of you continue down your path of building a long-term strategy to address the impact of healthcare reform and strategically align your plan with your company goals. The easiest way we at Apex have found to help employers make this happen is narrowed down into what we like to call our 5 C's of building a healthcare reform strategy. Those involve consulting, working directly with the experts and gaining knowledge needed to prepare. Collaborating, building a team of internal and external SMEs or subject matter experts. Comply, outline the regulations and the documentations you need to ensure your compliance. Customize, develop a plan that's an approach that meets all of your needs, both yours as an organization and your employees. And of course, as a director of communication, my favorite phase is communicating, ensuring your employees are well prepared, well educated, and fully understand what's going on. So let's dig into each of these planning phases. The first one is consult. Consulting with experts. We in Human Resources and throughout our organization, you may be in a finance department or another department within your company, but consulting with those who know best how to manage things is building a partnership and completing a customized financial analysis, knowing your numbers. So knowing your numbers, whether it's Offering coverage or not offering coverage is imperative to building your strategy. So that is really first and foremost the first thing you want to take care of. As you'll see on our chart here, cost to not offering coverage can be broken down into what we call hard costs and soft costs. And evaluating both of those buckets is important to do. I think we've seen often that people look at the hard costs, the penalties, or potentially additional compensation to their employees to make up for not having coverage. But let's take a minute to look at the soft costs. Less attractive to talent, lowering employee morale, possibly increasing your turnover by not having coverage available. And we've seen in the market over the last few months some larger organizations, larger national companies have stated that they are just not going to be able to afford to offer coverage, and they've taken a lot of backlash in the communities. If you do offer coverage, the numbers you need to fully understand are having the new obligations to cover some employees previously not eligible for coverage, notably part-time, variable, and contract employees, and of course the dependent children up to 26 years of age, which is already in effect. You know, you may also see a shift in who's covered by your plan. Fewer employees, we will likely see fewer employees waive coverage, causing migration onto our plan, and we all know that's going to increase our costs. We'll also see some spouses may opt into their own employer's plan, so changing that plus spouse option that you currently have enrolled. There'll be penalties for companies that fail to understand and follow the new rules. Employers who do their homework and do it well and do it now on the numbers will better be prepared to address the short and long-term challenges of reform. So what path is right for you? Have you already decided on your plan of action for 2014 and possibly beyond? As you'll see here on our slide, we're on slide 5, there are many contributing factors to the critical decision, and aligning your organization with key partners will aid you. So let's take a look at these factors. We all talk about how this will impact the cost, but there are so many other pieces to it. How does this look to our company and our overall culture? If we decide to offer coverage or not offer coverage or do some type of hybrid approach, how will that impact our culture and how employees value the benefits that we provide them? You know, we often talk about a total rewards package. Is this truly going to change and shift what that total rewards package looks like? Retention and recruitment are so important to all companies, and we need to see how offering or not offering coverage will impact that as well. We have to look at compliance and your business strategy all together. What's important right now is to tie in to our next phase, which is to collaborate. And that's really how we can find out from the experts, from people that do this work every day, how it will work for you. So let's take a look. We want to form, our next phase is to form a cross-functional team of experts. And many of you will say, okay, we have finance on board and we have human resources. But as we'll look here, we have so many other folks that we need to be engaged with to make sure that we're making sound decisions to move our company forward. This certainly is not just an HR and a finance decision. We need to rely on internal and external subject matter experts. If you think about it, looking to the health and wellness of our company and our employees, what does that look like, and how can we ensure that we're integrating health and wellness together as part of our health coverage options? Tying in communications, bringing in a communications expert to help make sure that as we make decisions that it gets communicated well to our employees. Legal certainly has to be involved. Some of you may not have a legal representative on staff, but hopefully you're working with someone externally to know what the regulations are stating and how you need to document everything. Strategic benefits partner, many of you have one, and you should be working with them directly on a regular basis, getting the advisement that you need to make the right decisions. One area I want to speak to for just a moment is information technology. This is one that's often overlooked. If you think about everything that we have from a compliance perspective moving forward, we have to have the right tools and systems in place to track what's needed and to ensure that we can measure what we have in place. So making a decision to offer health coverage or not, you need to have these folks in a room, talking with them on a regular basis, meeting with them regularly to ensure that you're making the right decisions for your company and that align specifically with your business goal. So what happens then when you're ready to make that decision? What are those next steps that look like it? Meet with your task force, your HCR task force, as I noted. It's critical to designate a project manager or someone that can lead the effort and just keep everything going. We all know how important that type of role is to every large endeavor we take on as a company. Document your plan of attack for 2014 and beyond. Clearly outline those steps that you're going to take, because you will need to communicate those, not just to employees, leadership, externally. There are many people that you'll need to be able to talk with. What is your business strategy? Do you want to be an employer of choice? Are financial investments, both internally and externally, of great importance to you, and how does that change the approach you're going to take with healthcare? What's your commitment to stockholders if you have them? Again, back to technology. What are those technology options? Do you have systems in place that can support the compliance needs, the tracking needs that you have moving forward? You still have time to get these up to speed as needed. And then, of course, last but not least, is making sure you have your key leadership involved and up to date on your progress. They need to understand what the status is on every step moving forward. The next phase is to comply. Fully to understand your workforce, knowing if the employer mandates apply to you and to your employees. Looking at grandfather status and understanding what those plans are and that wish to remain so if you are grandfathered. Remember, the analysis for determining grandfather status applies separately to each benefit package. Establish your policies. How to measure variable hours, how to understand what your full-time equivalents are, how many employees you have in place. Document procedures. Be sure that you're documenting the identified processes and procedures so that anyone at any time could pick those up and be prepared to move forward. Certainly don't want to have a lull in time when these things are in place. You want to have those systems in place needed to record and measure employee information and compliance. There are so many documents that you need to make sure are updated, like your SPDs, Section 125, and any other plan documents. There are various number, I think we've counted, Tracy, maybe 20, 30, various notices that we have in place now that are required by PPACA, and they include dependent coverage extensions, lifetime limit elimination, and special enrollments, SBCs, designation of PCP requirement. The list could go on and on. Please work with your advisor on a regular basis to know exactly what you need to do. From a compliance perspective, just want to note one more time, we go into a great deal of depth in our other webinars on the compliance piece and what that looks like for employers. So again, that might be an opportunity for you to take a time to review that and know what you need to do moving forward. The next phase of our 5 C's in building this strategy is to customize. Customize a plan that works for you. Knowing that what works for one company is certainly going to be different than what works for another. We've already talked about some of those factors that are involved. Looking at your operational needs and efficiencies, optimizing your workforce, and carefully measuring who's full-time, who's part-time. Evaluating the size of your workforce and the makeup of your employees certainly can impact your company and how you deliver health coverage to your staff. Understanding your benefit design and offering, what opportunities are there to make changes to the design to promote consumer-driven health plans, to encourage transparency and accountability. If you're not already doing so, ensuring employees have some skin in the game is like what I'd like to say, skin in the game regarding their health. Are they driven to make sound decisions on their health coverage? This is a great opportunity to look at your contribution strategies too. You can optimize your employer and employee opportunities in and out of the exchange, and what those might look like for you is certainly going to be a little bit different than what they look like for another organization. And as someone who takes great passion around wellness, I wanted to make sure we know this is a perfect chance for you too to integrate health and wellness solutions and building incentives towards behavior changes. Because currently wellness incentives are at 20% on an annual basis of employees' premiums. Starting in 2014, that will move to 30%. And there are even more changes to impact the tobacco use incentives. So now is the time to integrate wellness. Now you have your compliance requirements outlined and your plan design finalized. It's time to communicate. Building and documenting a communication plan. And as I go through each of these phases, please, I hope that I'm stating this enough, that keep all of this well documented so that you can easily share this as part of your communication plan with the various key audiences you have both internally and externally. So our employees want to know what's going on. We all know how much press there's been on healthcare reform. The media certainly got a hold of it and is sharing all sorts of information to a point that many employees probably have heard multiple rumors of what's happening with healthcare reform and how it's going to impact them at their company. I've had employees tell me, I think I'm going to lose my job because we're not going to offer healthcare reform anymore, or healthcare, and we're going to not be able to continue as an organization. You know, we need to put some of those rumors to rest, and the best thing to do that is to help employees be informed along the way. Select a communications lead. You may already have one internally that can help you identify specific key messages, how best to deliver those, drafting those messages and keeping everything on track. So some messages I would think you'd want to start considering is offering or not offering benefits, a full description of what the state exchanges look like, your continued focus on health and wellness for employees. They need to know the how and the what and when it's going to happen. Audiences to consider. Make sure you document these audiences. You want to be able to communicate well with your executive leadership at all times, all of human resources, not just the one or two folks that might be involved in the process, middle management, of course all your employees, and their families. To what extent do you need to communicate to their families? There are various delivery options I want to throw out there to you. You have email, of course, which many of us use regularly. Letters to home, don't discount that option. That's a great option to get key messages out to the families. If you don't already have an intranet, is there a way that you could get one built through your technology team? Or a microsite specifically for healthcare reform? You also have meetings on a regular basis. Use those as an avenue to communicate to your employees. Face-to-face discussions do wonders to help deliver key messages. Certainly don't take any conversation for granted. The message to reemphasize to everyone is make sure your employees know you have a team of experts making the best decisions both for the company and for them, and that you'll continue to share information along the way. It's most important to not ever leave your employees in the dark. Then they are at risk for going to someone else that's keeping their employees informed. One thing to keep in mind is that employers willing to pay the penalty still would need to find ways to maintain a productive workforce. So regardless of the path you take, maintaining a productive workforce is a goal and a strategy we all have as an employer. Attracting and retaining employees, whether you do that through cash if you're not offering coverage, or some alternate way to ensure that they are still important to you. In other words, competitiveness will not go away. It will still rule in one form or another. It's certainly a safe bet to make in employee messaging throughout. So the next thing I want to take a look at is a sample timeline, just to give you an example of how you could lay your strategic plan out. And it certainly will go past July and August, but I wanted to get you to at least rolling out communications to your employees. This does not mean that you don't communicate with them beforehand. Certainly have a message from some key leadership about what you're doing, what you're putting in place, and that how things will be rolling out later in the year. It's important to start right now developing that HCR task force, partnering with your benefits advisor and legal counsel. Involve them in your task force decision-making process. By the end of this month and early into April, you want to be meeting with key leaders as well as your HCR task force and gathering all the information you can gather. Understanding that landscape will continue to be processed throughout healthcare reform and anything else you're doing to impact your health care strategy. In April, you want to really get that comprehensive financial analysis done. We certainly can help you along that process. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Tracy at any time, and we'll give you some great information about having that financial analysis completed. Understanding your short and long-term implications, determining your organizational goals, and gaining leadership support. Again, I throw in leadership often because I want to make sure that they know along the way exactly what's happening. And I'm certain that most of them will want to have some say in the final decisions that are being made. And from our perspective as leaders in healthcare reform strategies, APEX we've really talked a lot about when do people need to make these decisions. And we feel certain that if you're getting those decisions made by mid to late May, you've got yourself on a really good track to getting everything else put into place, and 2014 will be kicked off just the way we want it to happen. So making that decision to play or not play needs to be done in May and continuing to gather your information. Now by mid-June, you need to start developing the communication strategy and your full-on action plan. And when I say developing that, get it well documented. Outline those key messages and the audiences you want to deliver those to. Begin preparing those materials. I mean, this is an opportunity to not only communicate with your employees, but to help educate them too. What a great time to help them understand the healthcare system, how they can impact their own health, and hopefully over time improve their health behaviors too, which we all know will eventually impact your costs, hopefully decreasing those healthcare costs. That's the intent, right? In July and August, you want to begin rolling out communications and providing any additional educational opportunities you can. So the time to make these decisions, you still have a little bit of time, but it's dwindling. Don't delay and try and get your task force ready to document, can't say it enough, and ensure that your employees are well informed, well educated, and well prepared for what's coming. So let's take a look. Now that we've talked about comprehensive HCR and compliance strategies, I put a check mark there because really you have everything you need, the tools you need in place to complete your strategy through these 5 C's of consulting, collaborating, complying, customizing, and communicating. Everything is laid out for you, and you certainly have resources available externally to help you at any point. Tracy, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk a little bit about some final messages that we want to make sure we're delivering and ensure that everyone really understands that we have much more detail around healthcare reform as well as the webinars we've already put in place.
Thank you, Vanessa. I think first and foremost, we can all agree it's complicated. Understanding what healthcare reform risk factors could impact your organization, what those factors look like, knowing that all employers, regardless of size, will be impacted by healthcare reform, both large and small group employers, realizing and determining the impact that healthcare reform has to your business as well as your employees, and most importantly, think beyond 2014. Take your strategy beyond benefits. Include those making financial decisions, include management, include executives, have buy-in from the entire organization. Follow the five C's of developing a healthcare reform and compliance strategy. Consult, collaborate, comply, customize, and most importantly, communicate. Transparency is also the key, making sure your employees know how healthcare reform is going to impact them. One of the questions we received today talked about the Department of Labor notice of the exchanges and what that's going to mean. We know that original notice was due to be delivered in March, and it's been delayed until mid to late summer. Employers will have an obligation to provide those documents to employees to allow employees to understand what exchanges look like, what will be available to them, what the employer-sponsored coverage is. Is it affordable? Does it meet the minimum actuarial value? That's just the first part of many notifications that employers will need to be communicating to their plan participants and their employees. Also know that you can partner with experts. We have a few of the available resources listed here. Certainly our website at www.hcr.org apexhcr.com. The Department of Labor, the government website, has a lot of great information, as well as the U.S. Chamber, and certainly healthcare reform through the Kaiser Foundation. So in closing today, we hope you found that our 5-part webinar series has brought to you some clarity around understanding the legislative requirements, understanding the landscape, analyzing the financial impact and the tools and resources needed to do that, being able to determine the impact to your employees as well as your organization, and then pulling that together using a strategy to align your healthcare reform initiatives with your overall business goals. We thank you for your time today, and we encourage you to visit our website or bring any final comments or concerns to the individuals listed here: Vanessa Brown, the Director of Communications and Wellness, and myself, Tracy Gavin, the Healthcare Reform Practice Lead at Apex Benefits. Thank you all.
Thank you.